Excellent. Well, on that basis, we'll make a start. First of all, to our audience, thank you for joining us. The point of this session really is for you to ask questions of us. What's it like to be a student at the University of Cambridge Institute of Continuing Education, particularly on Masters of Studies courses? What will your experience be like? What will you get from that experience? But as we get going, I'm just going to introduce everyone around, or ask colleagues to introduce themselves around the table and to talk a little bit about the course they direct and what they're trying to achieve on behalf of students. So my name is Jim Gazzard. I'm the Director of Continuing Education. And perhaps we could go to Lydia first to introduce yourself and your course just for a couple of minutes, Lydia.
Thanks, Jim. I'm the Academic Director for all History of Art and Visual Culture courses at ICE, and we have added an MST in History of Art and Visual Culture to our sort of roster of courses. It's the most recent one that we've added, and we started it 2 years ago, so it's relatively new, and I'm very much enjoying teaching it at the moment and looking forward to telling you more about it.
Thanks, Lydia. Jill, would you be able to go next, please?
Thanks, Jim. I'm Jill Stevens. I'm the Academic Director for Coaching, and I'm also the Course Director for our recently launched MST in Coaching. So I'm a bit newer than Lydia in the sense that our MST actually launched in September of this year. So it's relatively new, but we have a cohort of students already who are engaging with the process, and of course we're now ready and taking on applications for our next cohort.
Maya.
Hi everyone, my name's Maya Ganesh. I'm one of the 2 course leads on the somewhat new MST in AI Ethics and Society. We started 2 years ago. We've just welcomed our 3rd cohort, and it's very exciting to be teaching and also learning about AI and ethics in this moment when there's so much happening in this space. This is a master's program for in a continuing education context. So most of our students are working professionals who are coming back to university for a 2-year part-time program. And I'm very excited to tell you more about the course in this session.
Maya. I think Fraser has slipped off into cyberspace, everyone. It is Cyber Monday after all. So
I'm here.
That's that.
Can you not hear me?
You're here. You're back.
Yes,
sorry, I couldn't see you on the screen. Fraser, do go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, my name's Fraser Grace. I'm a co-director of the MST in Writing for Performance. It's a really broad-based course, which is a recognition, I think, of the nature of the careers of writers now. That in the old days, perhaps there were playwrights, and way away in a distant galaxy, there were TV writers and screenwriters. This is a course for everyone who's interested in writing for performance, some with a little experience, some with a lot of experience. We're just taking our 4th cohort, so I'm somewhere between Lydia and Jill, I think, in terms of the time we've been round the wheel.
Thanks, Fraser. Can I ask you all, and any of you jump in as you see fit, can you tell me a bit about the students on your course? Who do you see on your courses? Tell me about them. Who wants to go first?
I can tell you about our students. We've had 2 cohorts, as I said, so far. And we've got the cohorts are really mixed. We have a real mix of ages and experiences. And we have some people who are sort of mid-career and trying to boost their qualifications in order to get jobs in the art world, for example, or in order to progress their careers in the art world. We've also got retired professionals who've been professionals in other sort of areas areas and other fields, and people who've really built up their sort of art history skills and research skills in more recent years, and who are really sort of finding their sort of passion for art history later in life. So we have a real range of people, I would say. It's probably common to most of the MSTs.
Does it differ, Jill, on the professional courses? If we just talk about, say, coaching for a minute, is it more homogeneous, or is it really varied?
Well, it is varied. The MST, the way that we designed it was that we wanted to take an interdisciplinary approach to the topic, which means that our students come from any area or any sector where coaching is taking place. The course itself is aimed at advanced practitioners, which is important because it's not for people who want to learn about coaching. It's actually aimed at people who have a number of years coaching experience and they already have a coaching qualification, but they want to deepen and widen their understanding and knowledge of coaching. So I think for us, it's about our students, range from people working in the corporate sector, in education, in wellness coaching, in conflict resolution. So which for us as tutors, it really adds to the richness of the whole student and learning experience.
Fraser, do go ahead. Sorry, I cut across you.
That's all right. Well, a little bit the same as Jill, in the sense that one of the things that we look for when we process applications and see people for interview is evidence that people are already writers. They might not have a lot of professional experience, but they're already writing in one form or another. And some of the applicants we have on the program have actually got a frightening amount of experience in a particular narrow field. So maybe they've written for television for years, but have always wanted to write plays, or heaven forfend, do stand-up comedy. So all of which is within our ambit.
Maya?
Yeah, thanks. I think our student body, like most of ICE's student body, our cohorts are very mixed, and we have people who have just finished their undergraduate degrees, and all the way up to people who are seasoned tech entrepreneurs. But I think what's unique and interesting about this program is that everybody has some engagement with AI and technology, but they think that they don't know enough about it. And they come into the program, and we actually discover that, these are the people who are don't realize that they're actually making a lot of decisions about the development, design, and procurement of AI technology. So what's really unique for us as course leaders is, as much as we're teaching about history and ethics and philosophy, we're also learning so much about the real world of practitioners who are working with technologies like AI in big tech, in government, in civil society, and from around the world, really. So what's interesting about our students is there's so much sort of engagement with them and with us as course leads and teachers as well.
Thank you. And I need you all to be really honest now. When you're thinking about processing applications and when you're interviewing applicants, can you tell us a little bit about what you're looking for and how you're looking to build those cohorts of learners? So, Fraser, do you want to start?
Yes, well, as I said, one thing is evidence that people are already writing. They're already beginning to make work and find collaborations, because that's one other thing that happens on our course a huge amount. We have this great pot of really interesting people with very varied levels of experience, and one thing you can't do really in writing for performance very easily is to do that in isolation. You do it in collaboration with others, whether that be actors, directors, designers, and other performers and writers. So some evidence that that's on the go. And then the other thing I think we're always interested in is anyone who brings an interesting experience of life. I mean, some of our students, you know, haven't done any academic work for many years, but, you know, they've been a carer for the past 10 years and been writing on the side, or they've had, you know, other work, but have always wanted to give themselves a little bit of space to really explore this thing called writing. So yeah, we're looking for and actually so far every year we've had a really diverse mixture of people, and the residencies, which is one of the way we deliver the teaching, are a great opportunity for meeting other people and bouncing off their experience.
Thank you. And Maya, you know, AI ethics is really competitive course. How do the interviews, how does the application process, how does that work for your course?
Yeah, so every year since we've started, the numbers of applicants have been going up. And I think in the last year in particular, there's been a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about AI. But that's sort of one of the challenges and problems. We are in a moment of a lot of hype. And when we look at applications, I think we're looking for people who need not be academic, but definitely need to be sort of inquisitive and curious and critical about the narratives that are sort of circulating. And because it is about ethics, I think people who are concerned and who are able to articulate that concern with these technologies is important. We see many people who might be very talented and capable in many areas, but I think they're, quite honestly, they're not, you know, you do need to be able to say, what is the challenge that we're facing in society now from this technology? And it need not be, you know, at a high technical level that you're being able to articulate this. You need to actually know your sector. So we're really interested in people who, let's say, have a lot of expertise in health or policymaking or procurement, or, I mean, we've had people from the military, you know, we want those kind of sectoral experts being able to talk about how AI poses ethical and societal challenges in their fields.
Thank you. And Lydia?
Well, I think similar actually to my colleagues. Something which is really important is a sort of knowledge of what's going on. So an interest and a passion for what's going on currently in the field, you know, what's going on in the field of visual culture at the moment. And most importantly, part of the application, a really important part, is their research proposal. So in order to propose some research, you really need to know what's going on and where your idea and your work is going to fit in to that, and you know, what sort of gap are you going to fill. That's really, really important, and a big part of the interview. I think we'll talk about interviews, but it is sort of interrogating that research proposal. And that sounds more scary than it is. It's actually having a chat about it and seeing, you know, an interesting conversation about it, really.
Yeah. Jill, is there anything else to add on application process, interviews?
I think for me, when we're looking at the applications, I mean, clearly there's the factual information that the applicant is supplying, and we take that on board as part, you know, their personal statement and you know, their qualifications, etc., etc. But for me personally, I think what's really important is for the applicant to demonstrate a real enthusiasm for not only coaching, but to deepen their learning. And also, unlike Lydia, we don't ask them to come with a fully formed research proposal. So that gives them an opportunity to learn and develop a little bit more about what they're interested in. We ask them clearly at the interview process what they might be interested in, but they don't have to have a fully formed proposal. But for me, it's more about the motivation, the keenness, you know, the desire to learn more. We know that they're not the finished article, and you know, that's partly why they're embarking on an MST.
Excellent. And I'm just mindful of the questions that are being asked in the Q&A, particularly perhaps around international students, but home students too. Could you just talk us through, perhaps, say, that first term of the MST and the learning encounters that the students would see? How do they work on your course? How are they timetable, schedule? If I'm traveling from America or Australia, how does that work? Just wonder if you could just give us a sense of that kind of learning dynamic. So, Jill, go first.
Thanks, Jim. Well, in a way, the design is the same for each of the units or each of the modules, and each unit kicks off the first week of that module, or that unit is given over to an in-person residential. So it's really important for applicants and students to know when the residentials are happening, so that they can actually plan their time with us in Cambridge. And it's great to actually have that opportunity to work with students in person for a change, given what we've all been through recently. So there's that opportunity to engage with fellow students, with other tutors. And that first unit also, there's a lot of information. We're aware that we give them a lot of information, the college that they will be enrolled with. There's understanding what the role of the college is, what the college tutor can bring. There's the library resources. So we're mindful of that. But what we want that first unit to be is sort of a bedding into the learning process, as much as an opportunity to cover some of the substantive element of the teaching around the particular topic. And I think it's the students, they can feel a little bit overwhelmed, but my role and the tutor's role is there to actually help them navigate all these things together. And I think they breathe a sigh of relief at the end, but they know that they're fully supported.
Maya.
Sure. Yes, I see the question about in the QA box as well about international students. So as Jill said, our course as well starts with an in-person residential. Every term has this in-person week-long residential in Cambridge, which is just a fantastic opportunity for the cohorts to bond and get to meet each other. And there's a lot of solidarity and companionship, camaraderie that forms in that time. And they also get time with us and with other people, lecturers and staff here. And then what happens is for the remainder of the term, we do we program about 8 hours of reading and lectures online, which suits working professionals. So you can consume that in your own time. And then we have optional discussion groups on Fridays. And we do them at 2 times on a Friday, because we know that we have students who are in Singapore. We also have students who are in California. So as course leads for the modules we're leading, we're online on Friday for about an hour, 2 times in the day. And so these are optional, of course, but then we find that it's a really great way for people to talk about the readings, talk about the lecture that they've consumed over the week, and also have a chance to check in with each other. So that's how we sort of try to address the time zones and international cohort. I would say, just to the person who asked that question as well, that everybody on our MST in AI Ethics and Society is working full time. And it is a challenge, but it's something that works because people make that commitment. They say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And it is challenging, but once you make that commitment, then you say, I'm going to carve out time for myself, whether that means negotiating with my family, with my workplace. And we're going to have a webinar on Wednesday as well, where I think maybe on Tuesday, where you're going to hear from students, but also my course lead, and how people negotiate that balance. And I think that's also a big part of the course, is being able to do that. And I'll leave it there, and happy to take more questions about the details later. Thanks.
Fraser.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, very much the same as has already been said in terms of structure. And I must say, I think when I came to ICE, I was a little dubious about this structure of teaching, these residencies, but actually they're incredibly productive and powerful times. As I said, we've been through the course 4 times now, and I think we tweaked the course so that our first meeting together we all sort of start at the same level, and we work through quite a few fundamentals, things which are common to all the different kinds of writing for performance, and there's a comedy workshop as part of that, which everyone sees as the most terrifying part of the course, but actually it does so much for people's confidence and their ability to get on their feet and share and talk about their work and about themselves, about their lives. So there's a real life sharing thing that goes on in that too. So that would I think be the sort of aim of our beginnings, in addition to the things Jill spoke about, in particular about re-engaging with academic thinking and writing, which is a big part of our programme.
Thank you. Lydia, anything to add?
I sort of, doing this session makes me realise that I want to do all your courses, colleagues. Sounds so interesting. I'd love to do stand-up. I think that the structure is quite similar to what others have described for our course. We do 4-day residentials 3 times a year in the first year, which is very sort of intensively taught. These are really intensive times, not just academically, but also sort of socially, or, perhaps coming to Cambridge for the first time, meeting a whole new cohort of people. The WhatsApp group normally gets set up in the first break time. And from then on, they're all sort of supporting each other. They come to Madingley, see the buildings, spend a lot of time in Cambridge in the museums and libraries on our course. And so they get to know Cambridge really well, but in a very sort of intense way, really. I think that because we record all our sessions, I think a lot of our students like to go home, and once they've recovered from that sort of 4-day intensity, they like to re-watch lectures and seminars, just to go over the academic stuff again, and then before they write their assignment. But yeah, so similar to others, but yeah, just a great experience, but very, very tiring for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's really immersive learning. Jill, Lydia, I'm going to ask you about colleges. What are they? Which colleges you partner with, and what value they add? And Fraser, Maya, I'm going to ask a bit about the dreaded assessment. I'll come back to that. Colleges, Jill, Lydia.
Well, there are 30. I think there are 33 colleges in Cambridge, and as you may or may not know, it's everybody who matriculates from Cambridge has a college, is attached to a college from the beginning of their studies for the rest of their lives, so they're always a member of that college even when they graduate from it. We partner up on our particular course with Murray Edwards and Lucy Cavendish, and now I'm going to forget the other one, Wolfson. How could I forget? But I think all different courses have their own links with different colleges. A college is really somewhere which is your sort of home, an interdisciplinary place, somewhere where you can have these interdisciplinary conversations with people over lunch, over dinner, where you meet all sorts of students other than the ones that you spend a lot of time with on your particular course, and also has a really important pastoral role as well. So in a college, you'll all have a tutor, an individual tutor who will guide you through the sort of pastoral side of your course across the couple of years that you're with us.
And Jill, from your perspective, have you seen the colleges working for the coaching students?
Yes, so very much support what Lydia has already said. The college that we are partnering with is Homerton College. And we have a couple of students who already, because they're existing Cambridge graduates, decided that they wanted to continue that affiliation with their initial college. And that's absolutely fine. There's no problem about that at all. But I think that people who are new to the course and new to Cambridge it's nice for them to have that collegiate feel, not only within the cohort, that all the cohort are together at the college, then you know, they've got that sense of camaraderie outside of the cohort as well. I think, as Lydia says, it's something that I think is very special to Cambridge, and for students to understand that they have this extra dimension to their learning experience is actually really rather wonderful in a way. They have so much support, they have so many other things going on. There are, you know, social events. The next residential that we're holding is actually going to be at Homerton College, and so we've got a couple of opportunities where our students will mix with other students from other courses, and I think it just really strengthens and deepens the whole learning experience.
Completely agree. I think to have that second sort of intellectual community, social community, it adds so much to it all. The dreaded assessment, Maya Fraser. Can you just talk to us a little bit about how you actually speak to your students about, you know, how we determine whether learning's happened, how we grade, how we feedback? How does it work?
Do you want to go, Maya?
Sure, I can go. Thanks, Fraser. So I think one of the challenges that our students have is that many of them are coming back to academia after a while, as is with, you know, I think many courses at ICE will see this happening, and that's the whole point of continuing education. So I think it's really on us to be sensitive and aware, and I think we try to work that into our assessments, because people do have a lot of anxiety about being assessed, especially when you're in the world of, you know, work, and you have a profession where you might be, you know, doing really well, you might be already successful, and then you're coming to the University of Cambridge and you're being assessed on academic stuff. So one of the ways we do this is to try and have a sort of a gentle ramp up. So we have very intentionally made our first written essay. There are 4 essays that people have to do, and a dissertation. So the first essay is actually not weighted as much as the other 3 essays, and it's shorter. So while we have 3 essays that, you know, in terms 2, 3, and 4 that are 4,500 words long, the first essay is only 2,500 words long. So that's one thing, and that's kind of like having training wheels. And then we have a system of advisors who will talk to you about, you know, your abstract, what you're planning to write, and help you kind of structure your essay or think about how you might want to structure it. We will show people sample essays from previous years that have done really well, so people have like some kind of template or model to work off of. And you know, it's just one of those things. You have to sort of like jump into the deep end and swim, and wear their like kind of life vests, life rafts to help you. It's a journey. I don't know if I should say anything more at this point. Maybe I'll just kind of stop there and let Fraser say something, and then I can come back if there's more.
Okay, thanks, Maya. Well, a lot of what Maya said is the same with us, in that we provide good examples of past work from earlier students. But I suppose very much with the same aim, but a slightly different structure with our program. So through our first year, we have 4 modules, and after each module, 2 assignments are set. That's certainly true for the first 3 modules. There's a creative assignment and then a critical essay of one sort or another. And the trend in the essays is that they start quite sort of theoretical, and they get more and more reflective on your own writing, which some people find quite frightening, in that you think, oh, what, I've got to critique my own work or talk about my own work in relation to Ibsen or Spielberg. That's very strange. But the creative modules are formatively, creative assignments are formatively marked for the first 3 modules, and that means that the mark doesn't count towards your eventual masters. And the idea of that is to encourage experimentation, encourage people not to stay in their sort of comfort zone, but to try a kind of writing that they haven't tried before. And so that's those twin sort of things of wanting to encourage thought about what we do, why we do the things that we do in the way that we do them, why certain films seem to fall apart in the final reel, for instance. So we're encouraging that kind of analytical thinking, but also encouraging experimentation as a creative writer as well. And then in the second year, just to say, in our second year, students are paired up with a supervisor for their major dissertation project. They choose to write in any medium they like, and we find them a supervisor. And one of the great successes of the program so far really is this bank of supervisors, including some really quite impressive people in the industry who are willing to supervise a student over a year and meet with them 5 times through the year and help them develop a script for 90 minutes of performance text, whether that is 3 comedy half hours or 2 audio drama, 45-minute audio dramas, or a 90-minute stage play, or part of the first 90 minutes of a screenplay.
Excellent. I really like this idea at postgraduate level of experimentation. You know, this isn't rote learning. This isn't something that we must pass. This is for you to explore learning. There are 2 more themes, colleagues, I'd like to pick up on. If anyone would like to say any more about the dissertation, the thesis component, and all of you keep talking about tutors. Who are they? Where did they come from? Why have you chosen for those tutors to be on your programs? Fraser, I don't know if you wanted just to pick up on tutors first. Who teaches alongside you?
Well, there's myself and my co-director, Claire Bailey, and then we have 2 more core tutors, sometimes 3 more core tutors, depending on student numbers, or both of whom are professionals, writers, but also have an academic background. And then we have this really big pool of people who are working in the industry, most of them writers, but also some directors and producers who I've just done the marking grid for the first module. It's a very complicated operation. All our work is double marked, so you get feedback from 2 I was going to say experts in the field, but I mean workers in the field who know what it takes to make a successful TV script or film script. So you get feedback from 2 of those on every piece of coursework that you do through the program. So it's invidious to mention names, but they are people who are active and successful in their profession.
Lydia, dissertations, tutors, both you choose?
Yes, I've seen a question in the Q&A about supervisors. We, similar to Fraser, we match the sort of research proposal to an expert in the field, so someone who has an expert knowledge of that subject area. That could be an academic in Cambridge in our Cognate faculty, or it could be someone in another faculty in Cambridge, or it could, as Fraser said, be somebody professional who is not in Cambridge, somebody in the museums and arts and heritage world, for example, but whoever we choose will be a sort of active researcher or an active professional in that particular area. And what was the other question you asked me, Jim? Sorry, I don't think I answered the question there.
No, the value of the dissertation, really. So, at master's level, what are we trying to do with the dissertation?
Yeah, so the dissertation is when you work with that person that we've matched you with for a year across, and we also have 5 one-to-one supervisions. So you work with that person very closely, and they're able to give you their expert advice and guidance on shaping the topic in the way that you, of course, as the person writing the dissertation is driving. And that sort of initial idea that you have about filling the gap in scholarship, they'll help you to expand that and become a researcher in your own right and an expert in your own right.
Maya.
Sure, yeah, the dissertations are a really interesting piece of our program because in my view, and I think I speak for my co-leads as well, this is a moment when we really see our students kind of choosing to specialize in an area. And, you know, the course is a bit like, there's a bit of a tasting menu feel because we go from history to philosophy, we do theories and methods, we do governing AI. And this allows people to then decide that, oh, I really like this, or this relates to my work. And then the dissertation is when you can deepen it. And, you know, people, when they come in, many of them just think, I'm never going to be able to do a master's level dissertation. And it is absolutely amazing how people get there. And, you know, of course, it's new and it's challenging. There's lots of technical details to it, but it's really quite extraordinary how people get there. I mean, I'll just give you an example of somebody who is here in Cambridge. She's the director of sustainability for ARM, which is one of the world's largest chip manufacturers. The chips that go inside, you know, all of the AI. And she came in on the very first day saying, I haven't been in university for a long time. I don't know what I'm really doing here. Big imposter syndrome, which is another thing we see a lot of in this area. She has just ended up producing, like, got one of the highest grades for the dissertation, first class with distinction. And I think it's going to become a book because it is about, it's about sand. Who would think that sand would make for an interesting dissertation? But sand, silica, is what actually goes into the chips. And she's used this amazing framework, theoretical framework, to sort of talk about these different zones around the world. She's very committed to the environmental footprint, thinking about the environmental footprint of AI. And she has taken what could be potentially really boring and made it something so critical and so compelling. People want to publish this dissertation as a book now. So it's that's really been very special for us to see how that process can happen. But she's driven it. I mean, we've kind of supported a little bit, but it's been her passion and enthusiasm and sort of commitment to the topic.
Thank you. And Jill.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear, Maya. I would just build on that in a way, because I think for coaching is a relatively new discipline. It builds on things like psychology, philosophy, and I think that students have an opportunity to really look at something that really excites them and fascinates them around the whole coaching discipline. You know, one of my unwritten aims, if you like, would be that we would be able to have some of the students produce work that they may be able to publish. And I think that would be a great achievement, not only for the MST itself, but for the students and the people involved, and obviously contributing to the existing body of knowledge. And because of the interdisciplinary nature of the MST itself, there may be some students who want to look at a particular methodology, a research methodology, in their coaching topic that is in a way more important than the coaching element, if you see what I mean. So what we're doing is we're building up a bank of experts in the field, in coaching, but in research as well. And so hopefully, ultimately, we will match the student with a supervisor that can really, you know, provide value to them through the whole experience.
Colleagues, I'm going to give you one moment to think about what you think the best thing is about your course and the impact you've seen on your learners. I'm just going to respond in the meantime to someone who's asked about preparing for doctoral level study. And we've seen a number of students go on from MSTs to PhD, EdD, ProfDoc study. I think my advice would be speak to the course director, the academic director, and your supervisor very early in that process, if that's your ambition, so we can start steering you in that regard, and perhaps almost making sure that the dissertation might be almost the literature review or something of that nature that would be the trajectory onwards to your PhD. For some people, this will be their terminal qualification, and we need to understand what that means about employability using the university's career services, for example. So have some clarity about what you think you want to do with the learning. Of course, that might change as colleagues have said throughout the program. I think there's that maturing process throughout the learning, which is exciting as well, and change too within objectives. Right, colleagues, I bought you some time with my PhD responses. Fraser, would you like to go first in terms of the impact, the best things you think for your students?
Yeah, I think the thing that is most gratifying to see is people develop as writers to be able to flex according to the opportunities that come their way, and in line with their passions as well, and not just that ability, which is something you can develop, and knowledge about the way that the industry works and what each different kind of writing requires, but also the relationships which will enable that to flow, whether that's relationships within the cohort and people become.
You've just gone on to mute, Fraser. You're just going to talk about relationships that are formed.
Was I? Brilliant bit of performing there. Yes, you know, they make the relationships which enable them to explore those different areas. And you know, we now, because we've been going 4 years, we now have people who have passed through the course and are getting amazing opportunities opening up to them, and they feel confident to sort of take those on because they've had this broad range of experience on the course. So one of our recent students, still with us really, but from a Romany background, who now has 3 theatres in London competing for her. I don't know whether it's the current play or the next one, but I mean, you know, and there are lots of stories like that in different media. So that I would say is that ability to sort of gain the confidence and knowledge you need to take on the opportunities that come your way.
I think confidence, I would agree. What I've seen of Cambridge compared to other universities is just building that efficacy, that confidence, that belief. So thank you. Jill.
Thanks. I think, I mean, as I said, we're relatively new. We're on the start of the journey, but I think there's a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, part of coaching requires a deep reflection on your practice. And what I'm seeing is in this first sort of term that we're just completing, is that students are able to start to really challenge their own assumptions about themselves as a coach and their coaching practice as well. And so I think that building on that for the rest of the units that we will do in year 1 and year 2, it will be quite remarkable. I am absolutely positive that we will see some huge transformations in the students, you know, in their outlook on life and themselves as a coach. And I think I would also add to what Fraser mentioned about the fact that it's great to see, you know, they're almost like rabbits in the headlights when they start, and it's like, will I actually be able to achieve this? There's so much to do, so much to do. But actually, even getting over this first hurdle of the first assignment in the first unit, you know, they realise they can do it, and you know, there's room to develop and grow. And you know, for me personally, that's a huge satisfaction that I get, along with the other tutors, to kind of work with them on that.
Completely agree. Thank you, Maya.
So I would say two of the best things about our MST is the network that people get. And I think this is what actually draws people to the course. You are going to be spending 2 years with people who are in a range of different industries and governments and sectors. And I think they're all really smart, talented, capable people. And Cambridge itself is just such an incredible network to be part of. So I think that the network is really amazing because of what it gives you access to, but also I think the network of resources and people you can draw on. So you can have somebody who is, one of our students is a policymaker in the Competition and Markets Authority. When she doesn't understand something about the latest tech that's come out, she can just call up her friend who's a software engineer and be like, tell me what this means. But it's also at a much deeper level where you're able to sort of start thinking about, wait, what does this technology mean societally, ethically? People are starting to work out things professionally through this network. So I think that's one of the most amazing things about the MST. And I would say from our perspective as academics who are also researchers in this field, I think that we're really being able to make and shape the field with our cohorts because they are practitioners who are bringing a lot of real world expertise. And this divide that we see between theory and practice, academia and practice, it's there, but it's also in some fields we really need to bridge that gap. And so I think for us, we very much feel like we're kind of like building these kind of intellectual relationships as well through the course, and that continues to be important to us in Cambridge. Yep.
Thank you. Lydia.
I know we don't have any time left, so I'm just going to echo what everyone else has said. The networking in Cambridge is absolutely amazing, not only amongst your peers that are learning with you, but also your guest lecturers, your tutors, people you meet in the colleges. That is just, really unique and wonderful. And the other thing is just the joy of seeing people grow into their research and grow as experts in their field, and just having that love of research and learning, which is wonderful.
So, colleagues, thank you, and everyone who's dialed in this evening, thank you for sticking with us. What makes me very proud of my colleagues is actually how animated they are about their learners. We can argue in Cambridge about pedagogy, andragogy, how we're going to assess which college we go to. But really, I think the MSTs are about getting amazing people together, and this peer learning community that my colleagues help to create and that you as students create. That's the differential point, and it's the amazing experiences that everybody brings into that add to the learning value. So I hope everyone listening, it's been of some use to you. There are other sessions throughout the week. If you have very specific questions about your application, the process of that application, we'll aim to get back to you. Well, please ask us again around those questions. If there's anything we can do to help around loan finance advice, visas if needed, if you're from a non-visitor country, we can help with that. But please test us, please ask us questions. Your time and your money and your learning experience is precious. So thank you very much for listening. The recording will be available in the next 24 hours, and we hope to see you on other sessions and potentially at Cambridge from September, October 24. So thank you and have a very good evening.